Hi friends, Mindy here. Today I'm setting up my book for the new kit for Bythewell4God called One Another. I'm going to be using this altered book that I created. I have several videos in a series showing you how I created this book, but in case you don't know what an altered book is, I have just taken a book and tore out some pages and then glued some other pages together. It's basically it. As you can see, there's a lot of pages that have been taken out, and so this is what I'm going to use for my devotional for this month. So I have this spine here, and I think that it's going to be okay to grow as I'm working through here, but I'm going to wait and do anything to the cover until the very end. I think I can get this spine to expand some, but if not, I may have to actually cut out the spine and redo that, but hopefully it will be okay. So what I have done is just pulled out some of the pattern papers that you can get that coordinate with the kit, and I'm just cutting it down to size. And on this first page here, this is going to be like my introduction page. This is the paper that just says One Another on it. I'm going to trim this down and glue it here on this first page. So I just am making sure that it doesn't sit too far down in the gutter, because that will really make the book difficult to close. So I'm lining everything up kind of with the outside edges and then just gluing that down, and I'm using a liquid adhesive because it's easier to kind of slide the pages kind of in place where you need to be. And this will also give me just room in case, like I said, I need to end up cutting this text block out and rebinding this book. I won't be losing any of my work that I've done. So I'm just going through here now and finding a paper from the paper pack that I feel like coordinates with this page on the left, and I just cut it down, not the full size of the page, but I wanted to leave some of the book paper actually showing on some of these pages. So you'll see as I'm going through here, some of the pages are done where I cover them completely, and then others I'm leaving a border, and then I can decorate that. And I will, very often you'll see me with my bone folder here, and that's really just doing that to kind of spread that adhesive around on the back, and so you don't end up like with the squiggly lines that you can sometimes get from liquid adhesive. So this next page here that I'm working on is a page that has a pocket, and that made that pocket when I was actually assembling this altered book. And I will link those videos below if you're interested in seeing how this book actually came to be. But I'm going to paint in the back pocket of this with some distress paint. I believe I would use Rusty Hinge on this color, and just you have to shake it up really well. And mine are, I've had them a while, so I need to really make sure to do that. And so I thought I would just cover it up, but I forgot how translucent sometimes these paints can be, which is most of the time okay, but for what I'm doing for this project is not really what I want. So what you'll see me do off here to the side, first I'm going to get a paintbrush and kind of put this Rusty Hinge color back behind this pocket so that it goes all the way down. And then I'm going to get some gesso, because you can add gesso to other paint colors and it will lighten it up a little bit, but it will make the paint more opaque. So I pulled out the pattern paper that I'm going to be using for the front of the pocket, and then over here you can see I have some gesso, and I'm just mixing that with the distress paint, and it's going to lighten it up just ever so slightly, but it will provide more opaque coverage, which is what I really want. I don't want to be able to see the words from this book at all, so I will be covering them up. And then I'm just adding some more color just to try to get the shade that I'm looking for here, and really to make sure that you can't read the words. You can kind of see that there's text back there, and I'm okay with that, but I just didn't really want it to be legible. So I'm just going around now with some more of that paint and kind of going around the edges just to make sure that when I trim this down, everything's kind of covered. And then I'm going to just cut down this pattern paper, and I'm going to be leaving just a little bit of a border so that you can see it. So that's why I made sure to paint kind of all the way around. So I'm just going to trim down the bottom and the left side, and then now I'm going to cut that angle. So I just kind of marked where that pocket was, and I'm just lining up the corner and then down, and then you'll see I have the same shape basically as my pocket. And then I will just use some liquid adhesive to glue that down. I'm going back and forth kind of between Aleene's Tacky Glue and my Barely Arts Precision Glue. I like the Tacky Glue because it's a little bit thicker and not as watery. And so I just feel like it doesn't make the pages bubble as much. And so I'm not going to do this for every page, but I just thought I would show you kind of how I plan to sort of decorate these pages as I'm going along. I have some distressed ink here. This is in Vintage Photo. I'm just going to go around the outside of this just to bring in some more color, to darken things up just a little bit, to kind of pull this page together. Sometimes, you know, acrylic paint can look kind of flat if you don't have something else going on. So the distressed paint will, or the distressed ink will just kind of add some dimension and some interest in there. And then when I actually go to work on this page, I can, you know, even change it up some more if I want to. I'm just adding some color and trying to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm not going to do that to every page. I'll do that as working through the devotional. And then for every time I'm really gluing these down, I'm just trying to find pages that kind of coordinate with each other, but that aren't really the same. I don't want them to look like 2-page spreads because this is a 30-day devotional this month. And so each page is going to have its own content, but I want them to not seem like they're fighting with each other. So if that makes sense. So I took this page here, this plaid, and I just trimmed it down. You can see the border around the outside of the actual book paper, and I'm fine with that. This is an altered book, so I want to be able to tell that it's an altered book, I guess. But anyway, I left this part in too because you can see on this page, whenever I was gluing these together, somehow this page got like a wrinkle or a buckle in it. And so the easy way to solve that is I'm just gluing this paper over the top of where that wrinkle is, and no one will ever know. So whenever you're working in an altered book, these are kind of things that you can do if you have some imperfections in the paper. Like I got a little impatient when I was gluing things together, apparently. So I had a wrinkle in there, and just adding a piece of paper over the top, you can totally hide it. Or you can just leave it wrinkled and work with it that way too. That's fine as well. And then I left this part in too because I made another mistake here. I was joking with somebody that a lot of the times what I do is I just create problems for myself that I have to solve. So this was one of those times I cut this paper down too short, and so you can see the author's name up there at the top. And so what I did is I basically pulled that paper that I had trimmed, and I pulled it back in and trimmed it down, and then I'm just going to let the paper go from top to bottom. So there'll be a side margin kind of on the left and on the right. But because I used the same piece of paper, it's really like right up next to each other, and you can't even see it once everything is glued down. So on this next page, I wanted to use some of my Neo colors, and so I was just trying it kind of behind where I knew the pattern paper was going to be, and I thought I would go ahead and just kind of do the same thing I did with the distress paint and add some gesso and make this opaque, because you can do that, but it didn't really work in the way that I wanted it to. So you'll see here I just have my paintbrush, and I'm using the Neo color 2 here, and I got it on here, but it's just way too light for what I wanted to do. The gesso just knocked it back too far. So and it's also not as opaque as I wanted it to be. So what I decided to do is just add gesso to the page itself. And then one of the things that you can do with Neo colors is you can kind of scribble the pigment down, and then you'll see my brush still has some gesso in it. I'm just going to use the gesso that's in it, that's in that brush, to kind of dissolve the Neo colors. You don't need a lot of moisture for Neo colors to react, so you can do it with water, but you can also do it with gesso. And so I did 2 coats of that just to kind of get the look that I was after, and I kind of left it kind of splotchy and darker in some areas just for some extra interest. And then for the pattern paper, I just tore the top off, and then I created a pocket out of this pattern paper, but I put glue about halfway or maybe a third of the way up the paper, just so that the pocket wouldn't be so deep so that I would lose my journaling cards or whatever. And then on this next page here, I'm using actually one of the papers from the Digital Elements, and just the same thing, just trimming it down and gluing it down. So this page is the one that actually has a double pocket. This happened because, again, I got a little sidetracked when I was gluing the papers down, and so I just didn't want to have one that was really flimsy, so I just kind of doubled that pocket, and I may use both of them, or I may just use one. We'll see, but I just went ahead and cut down this pattern paper that has these sweet umbrellas on here, and that is going to be on the front side of the pocket. And then I will do a coordinating, this is actually from the digital collection, and I just trim that down, and I'm just sliding that back behind that pocket, and so then that will just kind of keep everything covered. And then on the opposite side, I used that argyle paper, and then I had that little trim left over, and I thought I could make a tab. So if I decide to use both of those pockets, I may want to kind of indicate that there's two there. So I went ahead and used my We Are Memory Keepers tab punch and just punched out a little tab out of that argyle paper, and then all I can, I can glue that down onto one of those pockets if I choose to, but I'm not for sure that I want to do it that way. So for right now, I'm just going to save this, and then I'll decide when I get to this page how I want to do that. So I have all of my pages glued down and glued together, so I thought I would do a little flip through and show you how this is looking now for my altered book. So I have the cover page again. I left this just in case I need to open up this spine, which is a possibility. This is going to be for my intro. Then I'm just going to go through page 1, and some I cut out so that you could see, the book paper behind there, and some I completely covered. Some I created a smaller border. This one has a pocket. I painted this one, did a little distressing. This is kind of what the pages will look like more when they're finished. I didn't do all the distressing to all the pages yet. I'll do that as I go. But and then I just used, this is a digital, this is the pattern paper. I created a little pocket here on the side, so if I want to stick something down in there, I can. And then this page had a pocket from when I made the altered book, so I just covered that part of it. Then I have some more of that flag paper, and then some of these I have to figure out which ones they are. I left this part open so that this could function as a pocket as well. So for here, this is the pattern paper. This was from the digitals. The pattern paper, this one I just left kind of a narrow margin. I have some ideas for how to kind of decorate these outsides, so I'm just kind of leaving my options open. And then another one that I painted, that one was with Neocolors, and then just the paper. And I think this is, nope. And I just did some decorative paper here. This is one where, if you can see, when I was gluing my pages together, somehow I got off kilter, and so I have these in here. I might be able to come back through and kind of cut these out. Otherwise, I'll probably put some washi tape or something down there just to kind of hide where I tore those pages out. That was from when I made the altered book, and I just glued them together wrong. So anyway, here's some more. Here's another pocket. This is that one that has the two, it's actually two pockets, and I created the little tab. I may or may not put that on there. I'm not sure yet, so I just left it off. If I decide I only need one pocket, I can just glue the whole thing, down. Then I have this one, is one where I left myself a pocket. If I decide to use this as a pocket, I'll cut a little notch right here so that you know that it's a pocket. And then this same here is a pocket. This was one of the digital papers. This was also a digital paper, and I also left this one open. Just some different scrapbook papers, created a pocket here. I had to piece these two pieces together, but I think once I add things, you really won't be able to see that line there. I love this paper, it's just so cute. And then this one, I just added some paper behind this green paper. And then this brings us, this is actually the last page. This is day 30, but I went ahead and just put this at the end to kind of be the bookends between, the intro and then just being finished with it. But I have an extra page, and I left this on purpose because I may go ahead and glue this together. But if you can see right there. It's easier to see it from the bottom. If I glue it together, there's kind of a gap right there. I might need that gap as this grows. So I'm assuming I'm going to be able to get it to kind of go at least this wide without like really alligator mouth, but I may have to break out the spine and kind of rebind it. I'm hoping I don't, but just in case, I'm leaving this for now. So I'll come back at the end when I do my cover and cover everything. I'll deal with that last page, but for right now, that is how it's looking. So I have got everything kind of set up for my 30 days, and this, you know, each page will get decorated more as I go through, but this, just having this part done, will just give me a jumping off point and it'll make the whole process much faster when I'm going through. And anytime you have a 30-day project like this, if you can do as much in advance as possible, it just makes life so much easier. And then I saved all of my little cut off pieces and the few little pieces that I have left over, and I will use these if I want to make more pockets or make tags or decorate or little tabs, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't throw these away yet because there's still stuff. If I want to add a border or whatever, I will have the pieces that coordinate to be able to do that. So if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. That just helps other people find my channel. And until next time, bye-bye.